Okay, welcome to another episode of Reflections of a CEO. Thank you for joining me. This is a podcast where we go behind the scenes and talk about what it's really like to be the CEO of a company and really talk about the nitty-gritty details about business. So on today's episode, what I really want to talk about is it's sales. And the other day, I can't remember what it was, but I started thinking a lot about sales and jotting down some notes based on a discussion I had with Sasha, my girlfriend. She's seen a lot behind the scenes of how an agency runs and knows a lot about it. So at this point, we're able to talk business together, which is really nice. And she kind of encouraged me to do this podcast because I was talking to her about some stuff. And when I say sales, what I really mean is, I think that if I had to sum up what I want to say in like one sentence or whatever it is that sales does not just end when you close a deal. Let me say that again. Sales does not just end when you close a deal. If anything, that's actually like the opening. You've just sold them and you just started working with them. That is not when the sale is over, in my opinion. Right? Every touch point that you are working with the customer is, to me, a sale. Right? And what I mean by that is really that just because someone, so let's just think about this, just because someone signed with you, right? That's typically, you might think of it like that's sales job or you're selling them and okay, someone just signed the deal. They don't have to stay working with you, right? And they're that's why I say it's like the start. If you look at the lifespan of someone working with you, you might have courted them and sold them for the first month. Say it takes a month to close a deal, right? And then they work with you for 6 months. Really, your relationship is 7 months then. And only 1 month out of that 7 months was the salesperson doing their sale. But really, what keeps them there and keeps them happy is you doing great work and then but having great customer service and a great customer experience. That is you actually selling them, which then retains them and keeps them on for a longer term and duration, and also helps with upselling and referrals. So right, if someone's really happy with you and they've received a great experience, you better believe that the next time they hear, hey, do you know anyone who does this? And you've given them a great experience, then they're going to refer you, right? So there's so many reasons why it's important to look at sales, in my opinion, as not just that first part. Once they sign the paper and you guys sign, it goes throughout, right? So think about it. So you have the first touch point, which is someone hears about you. Really, it's before they even talk to you, right? They've heard your name somewhere. They've heard some brand somewhere. Like, you're starting to sell, right? They've read about you somewhere, whatever it is, right? Then they contact you. And then that's the first touch point, right? And I'm not going to get into the details on sales process, on that traditional first part of the sales process, but every touch point matters, right? How fast do you respond? What's your tone of voice on the call? All of those little things matter. But let's just say you then close a deal. You've signed the paperwork, right? Now, this next step, right? And I'm specifically talking about agencies here and service businesses, right? There's a next step, which is I call it onboarding, right? People call it onboarding, right? It's that experience. And actually, let me redefine onboarding, because basically what I'm talking about is, let's even say that the second someone says yes, what happens, right? How are they sent the contract? How are they sent an invoice? I'm talking all these little details I obsess about, right? It really matters in my opinion, because every touch point that they have an interaction with you is they're thinking about you. They're like, oh, let's see what that's like, right? Because it can be a good or bad experience. It may not, right? How you send an invoice won't break, the deal necessarily, but it will have a little impact, right? Is it a plus or is it a minus in that column? And I look at that, right? So then you send the invoice and then they deposit the first check or whatever it is. And then what is that communication like before the kickoff call, right? What are you asking them? What are you emailing them? How are you setting up the meeting? How are you introducing the rest of the team, right? And then once they're at that onboarding meeting or the first meeting, what is that meeting like? How is the interaction with these new people, right? How did sales transition it to these new people that they're maybe meeting if it's a different team, right? At that meeting, how do those people make them feel? Because oftentimes, right, especially with agencies and service businesses, you're buying, oftentimes in the sale, you're buying because of the salesperson, right? Like, I wish you could say a lot of times you're buying because of the company, and yes, the company and its past work helps, but you really say yes because of the salesperson. That's what they're really buying into. So that's why it's so important for the experience to continue, right? They felt good. They're like, okay, we like Jack, for example, as one of my businesses. Good. And then the salesperson did a great job. They're feeling high. What you want is that level of confidence and that feeling that you provide in the sales process to get them to say yes, that it continues and even gets better, right? So it's not like, oh, wow, maybe if you run an agency, you've ever heard, well, you sold me on this, and then like the experience wasn't so great. So like they signed because of a person, the salesperson, and then the experience wasn't great. That is awful. That is not what you want. You want it to be the reverse, where it actually keeps getting better, right? So that means the people interacting, very, very good emotional intelligence, good people skills, interactions, right? It's not just enough that your work is good, right? And really, when you redefine the work is actually that entire experience. How you talk to someone, how you're addressing their concerns, how you make them at ease, how you're guiding them through the process. That is what great work is, right? And a lot of people, I think, confuse it with, well, but if we did great design work or great marketing work. No. When you're in the client services business, a great work is all about that. And I think that's a really important point to emphasize, right? The customer experience, that interaction is very important, and that's what it means to do great work, in my opinion, right? So I've seen it too many times. Even Jacked, we are a culprit, in the early days, for sure, and we've gotten much better, right? But like there's still times when we're not 100% perfect at it. I'm not going to say we are, right? But definitely in the early days, there's something that I realized was like, hey, why is it not going so well when you transition it out? It's because the experience wasn't continued. It wasn't a great experience for the person. So that's really what I want to emphasize. So if you're running an agency and a service business, make sure that every touch point along the way, anyone who is interacting with a partner or any interaction they have with anything that involves you is amazing, right? It has to be, right? So from the salesperson, project manager, to if you're running a agency like ours, a designers, developers, a marketing agency, it might be marketing people, PR agency, it doesn't matter, anyone, right? And let me talk about a couple, one touch point in particular, actually, I want to talk about that is really crucial that we've definitely botched in the past, and I've seen people do it as well, is the transition from sales to the team, right? Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are buying because of the person. They are sold on that, and then if you hand them off, right, and you are not present, and you have not clearly explained that, and they aren't completely bought into that, you will shock them and they will be upset. How do I know this? Because I've done it, right? And I've messed it up, all right? When you're initially doing all the work yourself, if you're running an agency, you're used to selling them, and then you keep doing the work, so the experience can be great, right? But once you start growing and you have a team, if you're not the one doing all the work, right, they need to know that from day one. Mistake number one I've made, right? Don't sell them on you. Sell them on the company and the team of people that they're going to be working with, right? Not even those specific people on the team, just Jacked, right? Sell them on the company, right? And this is important, right? They're buying because of you, because how you sold them, but you're selling the team, right? So then when it hands off, they're not expecting, oh, where did the salesperson go? Where did Anthony go? Right? So make sure, so how can you do this, right? For example, don't use I in the sales process. Always say we. Don't take personal credit for things that your company did, even if it was you as the founder, right? Don't do it, right? Sell your team. There can't be any ego in this, right? Sell the team and sell the company, right? So then when it's transitioned over, they're not expecting you to be there, and they have confidence in your team. How else can you do it? During the sales process, bring at least one person or more into the sales process with you from the team, right? You're shepherding the deal along the way as a salesperson, but loop in someone else, a couple other people, and let them talk, right? Why is it important to let them talk? Because then it shows that, hey, there's other people that are super knowledgeable on the team, and that's what you're selling, right? So then you do the salesmanship, right? But you let someone else show the experience and talk about how much they can help, blah blah blah, like whatever it is that that shows off your expertise. Even if you can do it, right? That's not the point, right? For a while, and there's a little trick that I started using, which helped a lot. Yes, I could close a deal without bringing in other people to the team. But why did I start bringing in other people? Because I didn't want it to be dependent on me, right? So I was trying to fix that transition. So that was a little trick I used. You have to find out what works for you. Those are just a couple things that work for me in that transition, because I realized that was a big gap, right? Because what we'd have is the client experience would go up and then it would go down. And I was like, what is going on, And so that was something I worked on to fix then. And then now every touch point along the way has to be great, right? For retention, upsell, etc. So that's really what I want to emphasize today. I can keep talking about this, but this can be a short and sweet episode, because that's really the punchline, right? Like, make sure that when you close a deal and then it keeps going, that it's all part of sales, right? And that your transitions between sales and starting the project are really important. And that all communication, written, verbal, video, doesn't matter, during the project is all super important, right? Because that's how you build longevity into your partners and your relationships, and upsell and get referrals and all of that. So super important. That's what I want to touch on. And it's fun, I'll just end on this is I'm taking all this knowledge that I'm learning, giving it out to everyone, right? Applying it to Jack, but really what's exciting is now we're going to apply to all our other Popal companies, Popal Finance, right? For example, which we just recently launched, selfless or shameless little plug, finance and accounting firm for agencies, right? Specifically made for agencies. So if you are an agency and you're looking for finance and accounting help, not just bookkeeping and taxes, I'm talking financial engineering help to make a profit, because that's what I'm really good at. That's what I've kind of figured out for Jacked, and now I'm offering that to other people through Popal Finance. And by I mean we, my team. We are offering that. But with that, we're being very mindful from day one of making sure the customer experience along all points is great. So even though I'm eating my own dog food, right? We signed our first customer, and I made it clear it's not me doing the work. And so now the transition happened, and someone else had the intro call, and off we go, right? And then every touch point along the way, we're being mindful of, right? Essentially fixing everything that it took me 7 years to learn with Jacked, and now applying to Popal Finance and all other Popal companies. But this is one that's super important that I really want to emphasize, because I know how much of a difference it can make. And these are the type of things that I really want to share, either through this podcast, or if you want to go a bit more granular and one-on-one, I share a lot of this stuff. The first time I really shared this kind of bit of information was on in the private Slack group on servicebasedbusinesses.com. That's the private Slack group where I share these kind of things and kind of ahead of time. So also another shameless plug for that one. I'm not the best at promoting my own stuff, so I'm trying to get better at it. So there's two plugs: Popal Finance and servicebasedbusinesses.com. Shoot me a message if you're interested in either one of them. I'm really devoting the next couple years of my life pretty much to helping agency owners, whether it's through all-encompassing business stuff on servicebasedbusinesses.com, or specifically on the financial engineering side through Popal Finance. I'm building services and companies to help with that. So anyways, sales, remember, it doesn't just end when you close the deal and sign. It keeps going throughout. Don't forget that, and really make sure that every customer interaction and touch point is great. I'll leave you with that. Thank you for joining for another episode of Reflections of a CEO. I will see you all next time.